So now I'd like to introduce you to today's presenters. Got Jamie Torchiana and Matt Baker on the line today. Jamie serves as Principal Performance Consultant for GP Strategies with a keen focus on human performance improvement in the sales enablement arena. Jamie leverages over 10 years of healthcare and pharmaceutical industry experience, including key leadership roles in training and development, marketing, operations, Salesforce enablement, and contract Salesforce management. Matt Baker currently leads GP Strategies sales enablement practice. For the past 20 years, he's worked in the learning and performance space, supporting the manufacturing, retail, IT, and consulting industries. Matt supported clients as an on-site consultant, project manager, solutions architect, and account manager over the course of his career. So with that, Matt, I'm going to turn presenter rights over to you.
Great, thank you, Kayla. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Our focus today will be providing our point of view on how to equip your B2B sellers in this fast-paced and ever-changing marketplace. With that said, let's get started. Today's B2B buyers are more empowered than ever before. In the past, it was the institutions that held the knowledge, and information was power, and companies that could control the flow of information dominated. That certainly has changed, especially in recent times, and it's really become what Forrester calls the age of the customer. Online and mobile channels empower customers with information, and as those same buyers become increasingly more empowered in the B2B marketplace, the pressure for B2B salespeople to raise their game continues to increase. In this age of the customer, business buyers are continually becoming more and more business savvy. 92% of B2B buyers today start with oftentimes a search online. In many cases, buyers say buying from a website is more convenient for their buying processes and for them personally, and 53% find going online superior to interacting with a salesperson. Even though 59% say they prefer not to interact with a sales rep, 74% of buyers will actually sign up with the first vendor who helps them set their early purchases agendas early and turns it into a reality. So what does all this mean? There's currently a very big shift in how sellers sell and how buyers buy, and it's really causing a big change in how B2B selling organizations equip and enable their professional sellers in the marketplace. By 2020, Forrester is actually predicting that there will be over 1 million jobs in the sales representative space lost during this time frame. And through that, it's those that are going to be most successful will be those who embody and embrace truly a consultative selling mindset and approach. So what does this look like? As we look at kind of the attributes of that future state seller, for those who are going to set the bar and be most successful, it really comes down to key 6 areas that really are the traits that embody a consultative seller. These folks need to be tech savvy, whether that's through social selling. They need to be able to navigate information and data when and where needed, and this is often critical in key sections of the actual buying process. Sales reps need to have a point of view. They need to share fresh insights and perspectives that are relevant to their buyers and their specific problem areas within their business. Sellers need to exhibit clear business acumen and really understand the buyer's current business landscape from oftentimes not just from a company perspective, but also from a broader industry perspective, and really need to bring forth those insights in order to be credible and in order to drive maximum value and make the most use of the buyer's time. Communication is really the key, one of the critical elements of success. Sellers need to be crisp, concise, and to the point in their messaging, and need to be able to effectively carry an executive level conversation focused on helping their customer solve a specific business challenge. collaboration definitely is a huge vehicle in those sellers who are most successful. That is collaborating not just with the actual buyer, but also with their buying team. As we all know from buying cycles, there are many different stakeholders, there are many different influencing factors, and in many cases there are large committees making decisions. We need to make sure as sellers that we're addressing all of these needs and requirements, and we're also, from our perspective, the actual B2B sales reps are bringing in the right people at the right times. So truly understanding typical buying patterns and buying processes in order to do that and really truly drive collaboration is critical. And last, sellers really need to leverage data and use data in a very clear and purposeful manner to drive value and substantiate why your specific solution or product is better than the competition's. All of these trends and market shifts are changing the way organizations are enabling their sales teams. And with these changes, I'll now turn it over to Jamie to discuss her point of view on how we partner with organizations to address these organizational performance challenges.
Thank you, Matt, and good afternoon, everyone. GP Strategy's point of view is really leading with outcomes. With a strong anchor on your business drivers and results, which is the top right green circle that you see, we take a holistic view to understand how to equip your leaders and leadership teams to drive to your organization's performance. So what this means in the context of today's discussion and sales enablement is empowering your salespeople to create exceptional customer experiences. And necessary prerequisites to this are having leaders who lead and coach and the conditions that you see in the middle of your screen. These are designed for excellence, and they include cultural considerations, the capability, knowledge, and skills of your sales force, their engagement levels, and the tools and resources with which they're equipped. Now, our outcomes-based approach is a rigorous tool refined over the course of our 25 years or so experience across many different clients and industries. This performance diagnostic for sales excellence yields insight into a curriculum for your employees based upon what your top talent is already doing. That allows us to help you drive a curriculum and a learning journey for everything your sales reps need to learn and nothing that they don't. So as you take a look at these circles, in speaking with your top performing sales force to uncover their secret sauce, we ask what they know, and that typically leads to a lot of knowledge, content, and course data. Asking further what skills they have or actions they perform produces a smaller set of data, some of which may or may not be relevant to your business outcomes. But the real value added band comes when we investigate the outcomes your top sales performers produce. When starting here and unfolding right to left, we then have a clear focus line of sight to build a training curriculum and journey that strips out extraneous nice-to-know material. This process yields a blueprint for a customized curriculum we can create for your organization that documents explicit measures of success, determines maybe organizational performance or barriers that you might have that are helping or hindering consciously or unconsciously their performance. And it provides perspectives as to how top performers, top sales representatives view their role and tips on how to emulate them.
Thank you, Jamie. So as we look at other critical factors, as we work through our upfront diagnostic piece, through our experience and through best practice, we're seeing top performing sales organizations really work at differentiating the customer experience. And through some of the recent engagements that we have partnered with from a customer perspective, here are 4 key elements that really help equip and enable sales reps to provide a differentiated customer experience. The first would be customer journey mapping. This really is a critical component of leveraging a enablement strategy from a design consideration perspective to ensure that the reps understand what the flow of a typical buying process is, and then aligning that also to different buying personas, which we'll get into in a moment. Understanding this journey that typical buying decisions are made off of is critical in order to have the right information at the right time and really prep them to be more consultative and more insightful throughout the typical entire life of the sales cycle. From a frontline coaching perspective, through our experience, coaching is often the critical linchpin in really ensuring that a program is successful and that a particular rep is ultimately producing those outcomes of value that Jamie discussed a moment ago. So part of our overall process is to ensure that there is a coaching, all the requisite coaching requirements are identified upfront and early. And those requirements, based on that outcomes-based performance approach, an actual coaching model is devised to support the reps in actually equipping, enabling, teaching, coaching, training, and reinforcing those critical behaviors that produce those key outcomes. We're also seeing a big shift to understand, again, as we stated earlier, buyer personas. So really understanding the profile of critical buyers and also the buying teams, ensuring that reps are able to offer insightful and meaningful conversations to ensure they're able to check off what's most critical to the individuals, whether it's buying tendencies based on different roles, whether it's typical pain points, whether it's for that particular role or within the industry, and also to ensure that they're able to really provide key value drivers that enable the buyers themselves to make the best decisions possible. And lastly, from an overall experiential perspective, it's really providing training and enablement and performance support at the points of need. So a lot of our best customers who are our top performing sales organizations really strive to establish kind of a one-stop shop, whether that be through a portal, whether that be through one centralized location to provide all of their sales enablement materials and really map out a meaningful journey for the individual sales reps, and then also a similar journey that aligns to that from the sales managers or sales leaders' perspective. And it's also critical that through that buyer journey mapping process, you're able to understand what the reps need and when they need it and how they need to typically access it in order to truly enable them and equip them to best service their customers. So with that said, I'm going to turn it back over to Jamie, and we're going to provide two overviews of recent client examples.
Great, thanks, Matt. So here you see our work with a global information risk provider agency, which really their challenge highlighted the need for this organization and what I would consider a very veteran sales force, so folks in the role probably a minimum of 15 to 20 years. And they really sought to make the transformation from product pushing to problem solving, really mapping training as well as sales conversations that corresponded to the customer buyer journey that Matt just talked about. So our work with them included sales conversations that were more insight-led. The rapport building was fine, but they found that through surveying their customers, they were actually looking for deeper, richer industry insights from their representatives. They also wanted conversations that were tailored to the right buyer and the buyer persona, and an ability really to conduct sales meetings in a way that leveraged their product's sales specialists and their subject matter experts more appropriately. And we were able to equip all of the sales representatives with the skills really to craft compelling customer stories that enabled their buyers to and compelled them to act. So the results, we were able actually to deploy this content through a blended approach that Matt talked about in terms of modernizing the method of delivery, and the results were really impressive. You can see on the right-hand side of your screen that not only did their pipeline opportunities increase, but also their average deal size, their wallet share, and the number of deals, all while decreasing the length of the sales cycle due to more consultative conversations. And a side effect of this was also sales and marketing enjoyed a more enduring partnership across the organization, working well together to really enable their sales representatives to compel to achieve a greater customer experience. So shifting to a healthcare example, with about 10 times the size of the sales force that we just discussed with the other global provider, this was a global pharmaceutical company that was challenged with revamping their new hire sales representative curriculum. So I think we know, just being cognizant of the news, the dynamically and ever-evolving payer landscape, the fact that physicians are pulled more into running their businesses and practices rather than treating patients, with little time really to hold discussions with representatives. And with an increase of generics and competitor entries to the marketplace, this company's sales force was yearning to be more nimble, agile, and responsive, and better value to their customers. So in this particular solution, we included the performance diagnostic on top performing sales representatives that I spoke to earlier. And we also built that into a blended curriculum with an enhanced tool set for these representatives. And in terms of impact that you can see here, and it is a little bit wordy, but we were able to reduce the time to competency by 6 months for an average new hire sales force. So if you just extrapolate that to your own organization and think what that would mean for new folks into the role to be efficient that much faster and aggregate that across your organization, that could come at some considerable savings and impact to your bottom line. Also, as a result of this program, sales managers then had a field coaching form tied to the outcomes, because managers are such the linchpin to these activities, and that allowed for pull-through and reinforcement of the new behaviors. And when we quantified this, really, training costs were reduced across the organization because of the blended modality in which we were able to deliver this. We actually saved $750,000 for them annually as we shifted the blend from 70% instructor-led training to better employing their virtual instructor-led technologies to a greater extent. So in the end, this allowed them to be more relevant and consultative with their customers and enjoy more enduring relationships. Now, we've discussed a lot today, which is nicely streamlined here, I think. I hope that we've imparted really the need and the priority to drive enablement by understanding outcomes, specifically how your top performer outcomes contribute to your business outcomes and results. In our point of view, we highlighted the role of the manager as the linchpin to coach for results excellence. And I think we all can agree that alignment really is key, as is modernizing your methods of deployment so your sales force is enabled when and how they need to be. And finally, maintaining customer centricity and that mindset to increase value certainly is incorporated into the enablement strategy. So thanks, Matt. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Jamie. So again, thank you all for attending, and I'm going to turn it back over to Kayla to open up our Q&A session.
All right. Yes, thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Matt. I know we get at 20 minutes goes by very quickly, but thank you for that great presentation. We do have a few minutes left. We might go a few over. There's 3 or 4 questions that have already come in. So just as a reminder, if you do have a question for one of our presenters, be sure to enter it into the Q&A module at this time. They covered a lot in 20 minutes. There's still a lot more to discuss, so we do encourage you to continue the conversation with our presenters beyond today's call. You can see their contact information is available on the slide deck up on the screen right now. And if you would like one of them to contact you, please let us know. Everybody will be receiving a survey at the end of this call, and there's a section in there where you can note on there if you would like Jamie or Matt to get in touch with you. I'd also like to remind everybody that the recording and the slide decks from today, along with the free Forrester research report, will be sent to the email address that you provided when you registered. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into these questions, and we'll go from there. So the first one is, how have you seen other companies effectively leverage technology to support their field sales reps?
Yeah, thanks, Kayla. This is Matt. So I think we've seen technology really leveraged in a variety of ways, and really from more of what I'll call a full platform approach, where we have partnered with organizations such as Bloomfire and set up full-blown end-to-end experiences for the individuals to work through their entire learning journey, whether that was from onboarding from day one all the way through folks who have been there for 3, 5, 10+ years as part of their ongoing educational process. And it not only covers just what I'll call the enablement and the day-to-day training and refresher training, but it also has and incorporates aspects of the buying process. So it incorporates things such as data or marketing slicks and where these things typically come up within a typical buying process. So we've certainly seen everything from complexity to that degree to, on the simplistic side, setting up simplistic iPDF job aids available to sales reps to leverage on their mobile iPads and to have kind of those quick reference guides, if you will, when they're sitting in front of a client, whether it's having a direct link to a marketing slick or having information or data directly at their fingertips. It's really all comes down to leveraging that data in a way that really enables the sales representatives to access what they need, when they need it, where they need it, and to do so in a very efficient, effective manner that helps propagate the value they're trying to drive back for their customers.
A couple more coming in, so I'm just going to jump right into the next one. So from your experience, what are some of the barriers to ensuring that frontline managers are able to effectively coach their sales reps?
Yeah. Jamie, do you want to start?
I'll let you have that one, Matt. We get this one all the time, so it's go ahead.
Yeah. So I think some of the biggest barriers that we typically see is going back to our outcomes-based approach. Oftentimes sales managers or sales leaders are strapped with a multitude of different levels of responsibility. In some cases, we still see today sales leaders being strapped with sales quotas themselves. So in many cases, the enablement side of equipping their people or spending time in the field with them, truly coaching, teaching, reinforcing good behavior, that often kind of goes to the wayside. So one of the big benefits of our approach is once we've established those outcomes of value at the sales representative level, it becomes very clear how to then help equip the sales leaders to help the reps become more efficient, become more proficient in alignment with those outcomes. And through our diagnostic, in a lot of cases, we'll also identify areas to drive efficiencies based on observation that can help them, in many cases, spend more time with their sales reps in the field developing them and maybe less time sitting at a desk.
Right. Okay, the next one's kind of a long one, so it's a couple questions in one, so I'm going to go through it, and Matt and Jamie, you should see this in the Q&A section on the side, so I'm going to go ahead and read it for our audience since they can't see it. But given the changes connected with consultative approaches, how do leading companies identify which current or prospective B2B salespeople are best suited to the new consultative sales roles? And how do leading companies evolve in their criteria regarding which employees they hire and develop? And then that's also followed up with what kinds of skills, background, et cetera, are rising in priority.
Sure. So this is Jamie, and I'll take the first stab at that because I think within the 5 questions, the first 2 or 3 are really intricately related and come back to our diagnostic. So we have found that leading companies, and specifically when you look at a sales representative sales force, they could be plotted along a normal distribution curve. And you find that most organizations want to clone their top or star stellar sales representatives, and these are folks whose names come to you in an instant. If we had more Marks, if we had more Matts and Kaylas and Jamies, imagine what we could impact to our bottom line. So these folks are just innately good. These are the folks that are driving performance. They're going to your circle of excellence or president's clubs, and they've always found a way to hit their metrics and exceed expectations and contribute to your bottom line. So the diagnostic approach that I teed up earlier in today's conversation really looks at focusing on those folks that you've identified, those top performers, and codifying what they do so well, the nature with which they do it, and really making that the backbone for your curriculum. So then you're able to shift the performance of your organization, and we found that leading B2B customers that have done this and actually cloned their stars are at the edge and really pushing the envelope in terms of their customers' expectations, because these folks are naturally doing it and they naturally continue to evolve and really shift the performance of your organization. So we found that diagnostic helps. I think the first question was, how do you identify those folks? How do they continue to evolve? And they do so quite naturally, and that's what we hope to mimic within your own organization.
The other elements I'll add to that is, in order to truly help understand what those desirable traits are, and you really need to also work backwards from your customer. So in most of the examples that we even shared, not only did we spend a lot of time with field sales representatives, sales leaders, and even the supporting cast members to really understand the sales landscape, the process, but we also went to the actual customers. And in order to really gauge the customer experience, oftentimes it does take some time to actually get feedback from your customers. If you think back to what is the experience between your top 20% of your sales force versus maybe the bottom 80, what are those critical differentiators that really provide those top 20% of the sellers the ability to be consistently performing year over year and be top performing and really have their customers find them to be valuable. And so, we oftentimes work backwards from there to help identify, what are the traits of a good customer experience based on the product line, the service line, and from a traits perspective, I think a lot of folks, as they go to hire nowadays, oftentimes still hold very traditional sales models or sales attributes or profiles when it comes to hiring. And, going back to some of the things we talked about today, in many cases, taking a solid look at what that current hiring profile is, and that's really one of the benefits of our diagnostic approach, is you can take those outcomes and really help develop a more modern, more unified hiring profile. But a lot of what we're seeing really comes down to, can field sales reps on their own, drive collaboration by establishing, solid internal and as well as external relationships. They really need to drive, and this is hard to, in many cases, interview and really, identify this, but can you really truly carry those executive conversations? And most importantly, are you able to, through industry knowledge and experience, share the insights and drive value for that customer through effective conversations? So it comes not only with identifying different types or different profile, but in many cases what we found too is it also requires revamping the way that you interview and revamping what you're looking for based on, where your customers see the most value.
Great insights, guys. It looks like we don't have any more questions coming in at this point. If you do have a question for Jamie or Matt, be sure to contact them after this session. They'd be happy to answer any other thoughts that you have to pass along their way. And so we're going to go ahead and start wrapping things up since we're a little bit over. Thank you again to today's speakers, and thanks to everybody who attended for your time and attention. We hope that you'll join us again for one of our next webinars. We do have one coming up next week, How Reliability Excellence Can Help You Reduce Costs and Eliminate Waste. This will be on Wednesday, July 19th. So for GP Strategies, I wish everyone a great day.